I'm fine with either, Madam Chair. If you do it.
Madam Chair, I think you are muted.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to do too many things on too many screens. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon. I now call the public portion of the meeting of the Standing Committee on Social Development to order. My name is Caitlin Cleveland, and I am the MLA for Cam Lake and chair of this committee. Today, the committee will hear from the Department of Education, Culture, and Employment for an update on the Aurora College transformation. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the Assembly's social media channels. Due to the COVID-19 situation in the NWT, we are following the Chief Public Health Officer's gathering restrictions in Yellowknife, and the Legislative Assembly building is still closed to the public. I'd like to remind all members and our witnesses to please direct all comments, questions, and remarks to myself as the chair, and to wait to be recognized before speaking to help the meeting run smoothly. I will now ask members to introduce themselves for the record, starting with MLA Martselos.
MLA Martselos, member for Tabacha.
Katrina Knockleby, MLA for Great Slave.
Lisa Semler, MLA Inuvik Twin Lakes.
Kevin O'Reilly, Frame Lake.
Janeway Allen Armstrong, MLA for Monkey Riding.
Thank you very much, members. I will now ask the officials from Education, Culture, and Employment to introduce themselves and to proceed with any opening remarks as well as their presentation. Thank you very much, and I'll turn the floor over to yourself, Mr. Bevan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm Andy Bevan. I'm the Associate Deputy Minister for Post-Secondary Education Renewal, the Department of Education, Culture and Employment. And I have with me today Dr. Chris Joseph. He is the Director of Aurora College Transformation. I don't have any opening remarks, which is probably a relief to all. So in the interest of time, Chris, I would ask if you don't mind just turning to the presentation. And I believe it's going to be called up on the screen. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bevan. I'll turn the floor over to yourself, Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just wait for the presentation to come up. Thank you, committee, and it's a pleasure to be back here presenting again in this opportunity to walk through where we are in the transformation process. Just moving ahead now to the second slide. So the purpose of the presentation today is to brief committee and to allow, through this committee briefing, all interested parties in the public to understand progress in the transformation, to outline what to expect moving forward in the transformation process, and to provide a description of what success means for the transformation. I'll focus on changes that are critical to the transformation, and in particular, they're linked to the quality assurance process. And I'll explain a little bit of what that means and what we mean by quality assurance in the transformation. Moving ahead now to slide number 3. So I wanted to highlight the Transformation website. The Transformation website is a publicly available resource that provides all of the background documentation related to the transformation going back to 2018. It provides a real in-depth look at all of the planning documents, but also the project management and work that is being done on an ongoing basis. Through the website, the public are able to look at what are the key and critical milestones on the transformation journey. What is the progress in achieving those key milestones, and what do they mean to the transformation process? The transformation tracker provides that level of detail and information, and it's updated monthly by the Aurora College transformation team that serves to coordinate the overall transformation process. That includes work that's being done on the government side to prepare and support for the establishment of a Polytechnic university in 2025, as well as extensive work that's being done inside Aurora College. Moving ahead to slide number 4. So what is a Polytechnic university? And we revisit this because it's important to understand what we're aspiring to and what to expect at a very high level with the establishment of a Polytechnic university in the Northwest Territories. Work is being done to establish an institution that will prepare Northerners to be first in line for Northern jobs. That is one of the most important and primary focuses of the work that's being done. But more than that, it's also allowing Northerners, empowering Northerners to become a future generations of leaders in the North by giving Northerners access to more post-secondary education opportunities to build skills, knowledge, and abilities that expands their opportunities in the labor market, but also expands their ability and empowers them to contribute to their communities, to their region, and to the territory, and to the country as a whole. It means more diverse learning opportunities closer to home for Northern residents. Those learning opportunities will be very much about applied learning, hands-on learning, but also applied research that has a clear connection to real-world problems, Northern priorities. Through this work, we're very excited about establishing a resource for Northerners which will help grow a knowledge economy in the Northwest Territories. It certainly won't be the only investment in growing the knowledge economy, but will be very much at the center of the knowledge economy, connecting different people, different groups, different opportunities together, and allowing those opportunities to themselves to contribute. It is itself an ongoing investment in the people and infrastructure of the Northwest Territories. It's about building something, but connecting people and purpose to help create opportunity. And it really is both transformation and the institution moving forward as a Polytechnic university about facilitating and supporting ongoing collaboration between Indigenous governments, communities, other post-secondary institutions across the North and across Canada and the world, as well as industry partners and other interests across the Northwest Territories that want to be part of the creation, dissemination of knowledge for benefiting Northern society. Moving ahead to slide number 5. So what is transformation specifically? Why are we changing Aurora College now and transforming it to a Polytechnic? The foundational review, which spanned 2017 and 2018 and culminated in the government response to the finding and recommendations of the Aurora College Foundational Review, identified opportunities to do better, to improve the performance of the institution. And this is a normal part of renewal of any institution. But more than that, what was learned through that foundational review process was that there are some missed opportunities. And becoming a Polytechnic university and significantly changing the scope of offerings and the way the institution works toward a university and a Polytechnic university model in particular will create new opportunities for Northerners that will empower growth and opportunities both socially and economically in the North that are really untapped opportunities to date. What will change? Change is quite extensive, and the reason this is termed a transformation and not a transition is that the change is extensive and it really covers all areas. It's a change in strategic focus. What is this institution and what does it mean is going to change? The processes that underlie the institution and surround many aspects of how the institution works will change. And very importantly, the organizational culture within government and within Aurora College will change. And that's really the glue that binds together those new processes to ensure that they're effective, efficient, and sustainable moving forward. And transformation is about engineering a successful change in those three things. It's ensuring that we have a strong institution and that we ensure that we've covered everything off in terms of the important changes, the investment in people, the investment in infrastructure, and the new processes to support an effective, efficient, and sustainable Polytechnic University, beginning with a launch in 2025. Moving ahead to slide number 6. So where are we now in the transformation journey? Well, the transformation is structured around 3 phases. So we're always cognizant on a project management basis of where we are in that transformation journey, because the contributions we make to success will change as we move through it. And we want to make sure that we're making changes in the right order and at the right time. Also noting that the transformational journey will span 3 legislative assemblies and helping decision makers like MLAs in the Legislative Assembly understand their role and opportunities to shape this institution moving forward. We're at an exciting time right now as we're about to conclude phase 1 of the transformation that was focused on strengthening the foundation and planning for change. And we're moving forward into phase 2 of the transformation, transformational change. Moving ahead now to slide number 6. Or sorry, slide number 7. The previous table that showed those key and critical milestones, that's a resource that's available on the Aurora College Transformation website. And the public can do a deeper dive into those critical milestones, those items that shape the key indicators of progress in the transformational journey. But there are 3 critical milestones that mark significant changes in the status of the transformation. 2 in particular legislative changes that mark changes from phase 1 to phase 2 and phase 2 to phase 3. And those are legislative changes. The Department of Education, Culture, and Employment has supported the Legislative Assembly in establishing the Post-Secondary Education Act in 2019. And that was something going into transformation that was very important because it established a post-secondary education system. The Northwest Territories had post-secondary institutions. It had contributions and opportunities for students at a post-secondary level, but it didn't have a system. And having a system, what we learned through the foundational review, is very important to help frame roles and responsibilities and create a clear articulation of what success means. We're about to conclude phase 1, and part of that, and the key pivot point here, is that the Legislative Assembly is currently considering Bill 30, which is an act to amend the Aurora College Act that will implement key changes to the governance system of Aurora College, as well as meet the requirements in terms of that operational model for a quality assurance review, and I'll talk about that in a few moments. Making changes now to Aurora College in terms of its governance and operations through amendments to the Aurora College Act is important because as we move into phase 2, it will empower the college to implement new ways of working that will allow it time to implement those changes and ensure they're successful. Changes in the right order at the right time, and allowing sufficient time for the institution to be able to adapt its strategy, processes, and culture. We will conclude phase 2 of the transformation process and launch the Polytechnic with the establishment of the Polytechnic University Act. This is a piece of legislation that will, in 2024, moving into 2025, replace the Aurora College Act. It will formally establish the Polytechnic University and allow it to be launched in May of 2025 and implement the remaining features of a Polytechnic University. Moving ahead now to slide number 8. So what has phase 1 been about? What can we say has been done, and why is that important to the transformation process? So there are 2 key components that are inherent in the description of the phase itself, and that's strengthening the foundation. It's implementing new processes for planning, create new leadership team structures. So what do those mean? Well, it means understanding the key transparent planning documents that come out, like corporate planning, strengthening those and ensure they reflect best practice. Leadership team structures internal in Aurora College have changed, and Aurora College has now implemented a new structure of executive leadership, a new structure of senior leadership that brings people together inside the institution in new ways that reflect how high-performing institutions work. So the very operational model of leadership and how they interact with their teams has changed within the institution. It's about renewing operational processes and adding key capacity in key areas that build that strong foundation. From a planning perspective, it's about internal collaborative structures. Within Aurora College now, there are 4 working groups and about 15 to 20 project teams. And there's a project management system that sits around them. There is an entire framework and way of working inside the institution that supports effective planning. And that has resulted with a number of successes in both strengthening and creating key planning documents inside Aurora College moving forward. There is been external engagement, and there will continue to be external engagement, but even those systems and supports for external engagement has been strengthened in the institution. There is a more focused strategy, and there are key foundational planning documents which have been created through phase 1. All of the critical milestones you see before you that are there in that document on the website in terms of critical milestones have been met, and we're now following the next sitting of Legislative Assembly, hopeful to move forward and make the transition into phase 2 of the transformation process. Moving ahead now to slide number 9. So the college as it is now is not the same institution as it was when we started the transformation journey in 2018. This is an institution that doesn't work the same and didn't have the benefit in 2017 of the planning documents it now has in place moving forward. The government in Northwest Territories, through extensive engagement and collaboration with institutions in the North, has created the NWT Post-Secondary Education Strategic Framework. This document and all the other documents I'm referencing, of course, are available on the Aurora College Transformation website or the EC website. That document set the tone for other strategic documents and planning to take place. And we have within the institution a new strategic plan. That new strategic plan represents a new approach to planning and reporting within the institution, new way of setting strategic goals that link with the territory's priorities to the institution's operational needs. There's a new approach to to creating long-term strategic goals within that. So what we have is the ability of the institution itself to be able to not only set goals, but to be able to implement and pursue those goals in a new way. And a big part of that has been the initial areas of teaching and research specialization, to focus the institution where there is social and economic interest for the territories, where it can be the most benefit to the needs of the people in the Northwest Territories. So there was a report released called Initial Areas of Teaching and Research Specialization, which creates a starting point for the institution around 4 areas of specialization that will help focus the institution on areas of labor demand where there's opportunity for the people of the Northwest Territories to gain employment in the North that is meaningful to the North, but also meaningful to Northern employers, because part of having a Polytechnic university is making sure that we supply labor in a way that helps our economy grow. A new approach to program reviews and planning for reviewing all programs is important because it speaks to the quality of the institution, opportunities for learners, but ensuring that the businesses and people in the Northwest Territories who engage in learning are getting high quality programming. Universities review and go programs and go through this continuous cycle of reviews in a different way than community colleges do. And so Aurora College has adapted new policies, processes, and staff within the institution, staff profiles and capacities to ensure that we support the highest caliber of university-level program reviews, which involves external, peer-reviewed, and responses to program reviews that feed into processes of continuous quality improvement. To support these processes, the institution, Aurora College, has also established a Center for Teaching and Learning. This is a really exciting development inside the institution. These are new staff capacities which currently exist inside Aurora College. It's in a pilot phase right now. And the pilot phase is to develop a permanent center under Polytechnic University. It adds capacity in areas like curriculum design, developing new ways of being effective through distance learning, making sure that the faculty inside Aurora College are current with the methods and approaches to teaching. Is a key capacity of any high-performing Polytechnic University in Canada, around the world. And we're very excited that this institution has, this unit has been developed and how successful it's been to date. The institution has established 3 new research chairs, 1 in each of the campus communities, Fort Smith, Yellowknife, and Inuvik, in areas that align with the teaching and research specialization for the Polytechnic University. But those research chairs are externally funded and focused exclusively on building research programs within the institution that will strengthen the institution as it moves into a Polytechnic University. We have we've attained external funding to support the expansion of research facilities in Inuvik that will start to build that core research capacity that's critical to the long-term success of a Polytechnic University. The expansion of the Western Arctic Research Centre is a very exciting, fully externally funded project that's going to create new capacity to build collaboration around research and see both direct economic gain in the community of Inuvik, but also a tremendous gain in capacity in the overall transformation and the Polytechnic across the territory. The institution and government has also been successful working together to gain significant federal funding with a commitment through the last federal budget of $8 million to support both direct investment in infrastructure, in part going toward facilities like the Inuvik Western Arctic Research Centre expansion, but also pilot programs like the Research Services Team. And the institution will soon start to form new positions, so the creation of new positions across the territory to support collaboration in research both within and outside the institution. And that is a pilot project that will itself inform a permanent team that will be focused on that collaboration and the success of research, building research profile in the institution. Moving ahead then to the next slide. So now we're moving into phase 2, and the focus will shift more to building transformation capacity, to strengthening the institution with the specific capacities that will be reflected in a Polytechnic University. What do we need that we don't have as a regional college that we will need as a Polytechnic University? There will be continued, and there is continued engagement, planning, and discussions around what the Polytechnic University will look like and how it will work. So the development has not concluded, but we're going to see more and more frequent incremental implementation of changes. So through the critical milestones that include changes to the organizational design and implementation and the release and announcement of more information about facilities of the future institution, there's going to be a lot of important changes to Aurora College. So moving ahead to slide number 11. The quality assurance review, the external quality assurance review, is a very important feature, and it is a significant part of what will happen in phase 2 of the transformation. Quality assurance is a comprehensive review, meaning it reviews all aspects of the institution to ensure that the ability of the institution to meet national standards and best practice in all areas relevant to the effective, efficient, and sustainable operation of the institution. It's about ensuring that prospective students and employers can rely on the institution of meeting those quality standards. So a student who goes to the Aurora College and the future Polytechnic University and graduates from that Polytechnic University has those skills, experience, and knowledge to succeed in their careers and in their communities. The government needs to also ensure that the public money that's being invested in the institution is itself efficiently, effectively, and sustainably used. Moving ahead to slide number 12. So Campus Alberta Quality Council will be contracted by the Department of Education, Culture and Employment to carry out the review process. This is a public body in the province of Alberta that reviews all universities and degree programs in Alberta, and also is the same public body that did the quality assurance review for Yukon College as it transitioned to become Yukon University. Much of the transformation work to date has been focused on meeting those requirements. It is a way of framing what quality means for a high-performing post-secondary institution. The information and details and background on that is publicly available for those who search for Campus Alberta Quality Council. There's a handbook and details about what quality looks like. But much of the information that will be given and help understand what that means in the context of Aurora College as it transformed to Polytechnic University is contained in what's called a self-study report. So work that is underway as we move now into phase 2 is Aurora College is working to develop this self-study report. And the self-study report is a comprehensive document itself that says, this is where we are now as an institution. This is what we have done to ensure that we meet the quality standards. And this is what will be done as the institution becomes a Polytechnic University. Aurora College is not expected to manifest all the features of a Polytechnic University before it becomes a Polytechnic University, but the self-study report will be a roadmap of how it's going to get there. And that self-study report will be what the Quality Assurance Council examiners will look at and use as a basis of moving through the different campuses and facilities, interviewing and examining the policies of the college, and doing their due diligence in ensuring those standards are met and will be met moving forward. The review process is scheduled as a critical milestone to be completed in August of 2023. Moving ahead to slide number 13. So what do they look at? And as I mentioned, the handbook for the CAQC is available online. But you can see from the list here, there are a lot of items covered by what is inside that review. And this is a single comprehensive review to ensure the institution is ready. But through continuous quality improvement, the institution does have processes for ongoing quality assurance. And part of the quality assurance review and part of what these external examiners will look at is does the institution have the capacities and processes to ensure that it's not just a snapshot of quality, but that quality can be supported and continuously renewed. The needs of the partners and constituents that rely on the Polytechnic University will evolve, and the institution needs to evolve and strengthen over time. And so the review doesn't just look at where the institution is now, but we'll look at how these items are going to be able to respond to, understand, and then respond to the needs of Northerners over time. Moving ahead to slide number 14. So there are 4 items that I'd like to focus to in the briefing today in terms of relevance to quality assurance review. And one is the implementation of a new governance system. The other one is planning incremental growth of human resources, planning incremental expansion of facilities, and the fourth one, plan strengthening and expansion of programs. So moving ahead to slide number 15. So looking forward to the changes to the Aurora College Act, which are currently being considered, have been proposed, and are being considered by the Legislative Assembly. But the college is preparing for a new governance system. The reintroduction of the Board of Governors is anticipated in the fall of 2022, so that about a year from now, and that's going to result in a governance system that is tricameral, meaning that there are 3 bodies. There will be a Board of Governors, an Academic Council, and an Indigenous Knowledge Holders Council. This will change not only how the institution is governed, but have implications for how it operates. How does it receive instructions and direction from this governing body? And how does it support information to flow up to that governing body to empower it to play its role in the overall success of Aurora College and the Polytechnic University moving forward? Moving ahead to slide number 16. So in terms of resuming board governance and introducing this new Board of Governors, new model for Board of Governors, implementing an truly arm's length relationship will be a key achievement of the new model which is being proposed. And that comes with it ensuring and supporting academic freedom, both of which are very important to the quality assurance review. The examiners will look at, is the institution arm's length from government, and is academic freedom protected inside the institution? Those features require a different model or approach within the institution itself. They will change how the institution works. Its strategy is clear, but its processes and organizational culture need to change. So there are transformational considerations in that, which we'll see manifest in changes over phase 2 of the transformation. We'll also see a new approach to collaboration. With a new approach to governance comes new opportunities to not only engage with new partners and stakeholders, but to collaborate with government departments and the Government of Canada and businesses and industry across the North. So these changes in this new way of governing itself opens new opportunities to increase collaboration and responsiveness of the institution. Moving ahead to slide number 17. So the Academic Council is a way of empowering academic leaders inside Aurora College, and the future Polytechnic University will have the same feature, but it will be called a Senate. It empowers those academic leaders and academic experts to play a central and leading role in academic decision-making. The Board of Governors, of course, continues to be the overarching governing body, but you want academic leaders in the institution focusing on decisions like enrollment requirements, examination requirements and standards in the classroom and how courses are delivered, how students are supported, how research quality assurance is framed in the institution. And this is actually a requirement of the quality external quality review, because the examiners will want to know that the right people in the right position in the institution are making these kinds of decisions. It promotes best practice in academic programs and research and student supports, and it does so in a very coherent and consistent way with those national standards and best practice. So it's an example of that continuous quality improvement in the institution. The institution is already preparing now through different supports and different ways of working to ensure that the board can empower and implement an academic council in the fall very quickly to start to realize the benefits of this new approach, a new way of working at arm's length and in a very focused and national standards way. Moving now to slide number 18. Indigenous Knowledge Holders Council, fostering the success of Indigenous students and staff overall is very important, but also developing a tool and system of continuously monitoring in all areas of the institution what success looks like in terms of supporting Indigenous students and staff and realizing success for Indigenous peoples across the North. Moving ahead to slide number 19. So the incremental growth of human resources, the college is going to grow over time. And what will happen in phase 2 is there will be a comprehensive plan of understanding how the institution can grow effectively, efficiently, and sustainably. But those changes will be made incrementally to ensure that at the right time and in the right order, the institution creates the capacity for being successful, the capacity for continuous quality improvement, to support greater partnerships, and to be the center of that knowledge economy. Moving ahead to slide number 20. So facilities, just like human resources, also need to expand. And phase 2 will create a picture of what does sustainable, effective, efficient, sustainable growth look like in 5, 10-year, and 20-year increments for the Polytechnic University. Planning that and understanding what that looks like to allow for incremental change over the years, a trajectory of growth that creates opportunities, but supports growth of the knowledge economy, collaboration between key stakeholders, and the growth of teaching and research programs for the Polytechnic University. Moving ahead to slide number 21. So one of the, of course, key features here is we're creating opportunities for Aurora College as it becomes a Polytechnic University to increase the scope and to expand the number and types of programs that it can have. So fostering growth in teaching, but also in research programs within those areas of specialization. Not being everything to everybody. The college and the Polytechnic can't necessarily pick up all programs, but certainly expanding the opportunities and scope of programming within areas that matter to the North. It's about continually meeting students where they're on their academic journey. So it's always important to emphasize that although this is becoming a Polytechnic University, the institution is not going to leave behind Northerners. It's about ensuring pathways that meet students where they are. That means that all learners who are, whether they're leaving the high school system or they're looking for continuous opportunities for improvement, or they're looking for new opportunities to build their skills up to enter the labor market, will have an opportunity to learn, whether it's adult basic education or basic literacy, or moving into programs that prepare you to move into diploma or degree programs within the institution or beyond. And indeed, having an institution that can serve as a stepping stone to give students or prospective students a pathway to institutions elsewhere in Canada or around the world. Part of that is creating a new approach to community learning. And so part of what we'll see in phase 2 is a way of increasing opportunities in all communities in the Northwest Territories to access more post-secondary programming to get on that pathway towards degree or diploma level programming in the North. Moving ahead to slide number 22. So wrapping up now, just looking ahead to phase 3, I know committee will have some questions and some insights into how the transformation is unfolding. But looking beyond that phase 2, where we've now in phase 1 strengthened the foundation and created key planning documents, we're about to release more information and implement incremental changes over the next few years that will create the base features of a Polytechnic university and build those capacities. After the Polytechnic is launched in 2025, there will still be transformational changes for a period of about 2 years. So phase 3 is about acknowledging that through those years after May of 2025, there will be new programs launched, there will be new positions come online, there will be new research capacity. And so the institution and the government will still be supportive of transformational change for a couple years before that renewal becomes part of regular processes. Moving ahead to slide number 23. So just to conclude, last couple slides, what is transformational success? Focusing now on short-term success, it's about laying the groundwork for an effective, efficient, sustainable Polytechnic university. The institution needs to be strong before it can be different, and it needs to change to that different state in a way that we know is effective, efficient, sustainable. Long-term success is doing that in a way that ensures that the North ends up with a Polytechnic university that the territory can be proud of, that continuously responds to new opportunities, that supports success for Northern residents, Northern businesses, and Northern communities. Moving ahead to slide number 24. So the excitement that we have as a team coordinating this, the excitement that we experience with the Aurora College teams working on transformation, and certainly the excitement with partners and stakeholders across the North, is really acknowledgement that this is one of the most significant social and economic investments planned in the Northwest Territories. But even more than that the benefits of this are clearly intergenerational. It is the basis for continuous and new opportunities to be pursued in the North. So thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the presentation, and certainly Mr. Bevan and myself are happy to address any questions, provide any additional detail.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph, and thank you very much, Mr. Bevan. In the interest of time, because we do have a 1 p.m. hard stop today, I'd like to turn it right over to members. I have first off MLA Knockleby, and then afterwards MLA Semler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Just quickly for my comments, I have come to really appreciate what a progress or process this is to get this through the transformation, and I do appreciate that has been laid out quite well for us as a committee. I'm going to try to keep it short here. My question is around collaboration with the secondary education system. It's my understanding in the past that some science courses like geology weren't university science track courses in the territory. So I'm curious to know, how is the transformation team working now with education with the youth to ensure that they're getting the courses, or that everything lines up so that they have the credentials or the requirements they need in order to get into the different programs at the university? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MLA Knockleby. Mr. Bevan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know that we're pressed for time, so I can advise that this is a specific commitment in the government's response, but I will turn over to Chris, if you don't, with your permission, Madam Chair, because I think he's a little bit closer to the actual project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. The Department of Education, Culture, Employment, as committee is aware, has a program of education renewal and is continuously looking at ways of increasing access for our secondary school students to move into post-secondary programs. What transformation will do is looking at bridging those with the Polytechnic University specifically. As programs are created within the area of specialization, we understand the capacity of the institution and new programs that come online, ensuring that we maximize pathways to get advanced credits, to gear programs towards success in those programs that are offered by Aurora College. And beyond that, working with working between the department and the Polytechnic University on an ongoing basis to find ways of creating the Polytechnic as a stepping stone in programs that are not necessarily within the Polytechnic University, like some advanced engineering opportunities, and how we might create the not just capacity for the individual or those prerequisites, but give them the confidence in the post-secondary system to move on. So what you'll see through transformation is more clear structures and collaborative relationships between the high schools and the college as it becomes a Polytechnic to empower the kinds of collaboration that the member has mentioned. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Follow-up, Emily Knockleby.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciate that. I also appreciate you throwing in the engineering comment to get on my good side there. I guess my other question is, is there a partnership potentially forming with CHRS, the High Arctic Research Station, that will be involved with the Polytechnic as it advances? Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Knockleby. Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Great question. I think it's fair to say that not at this point in time. It certainly is an institution that we aspire to be engaging with and enter into partnerships with. And I think, as Chris has outlined in the presentation, it's simply a matter of internal capacity at this point in time, not a lack of desire, but certainly a future partner that we aspire to work with.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Emily Semler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going from the question that MLA Knockleby had, high school to Polytechnic. But, throughout this whole discussion, going back even years ago, and Dr. Joseph probably has heard it, and so has Mr. Bevan, is that our schools are not graduating the students that are ready for Polytechnic. And especially in the regions and in the small communities. And there's a bigger piece of the Aurora College that has been what has made it successful for these adult learners who have probably dropped it. And how much emphasis is this transformation putting on making sure that we keep that going and strengthen it so that those students who maybe not are successful through the school but are able to go to the adult learning and through the programs that Aurora College offers into these degree programs at the Polytechnic. That is if we're going to invest all this money into the Northwest Territories, which is, great, but how is it going to, how is the department focusing on the reality of the Northwest Territories residents graduating and their education? Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Semler. Mr. Bevan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just want to send a very, very strong signal that's going to be a key and a core part of the Polytechnic going forward. That's actually one of the reasons why the Polytechnic model was chosen over a more, a university model per se. So the Minister has recently made commitments around having a presence for the Polytechnic University in every community. So we see that as a critical part. That's the access part, recognizing obviously there's some magic behind that. We have learned an awful lot during the pandemic, both good and bad, around how to deliver distance programming effectively. So we see that as again another real opportunity for representation in and a presence in communities. But as for the student pathways work, I think because of the transformation, I don't think the institution's ever been more focused on the idea or on the concept of and its role in and the importance of making sure that we assist residents prepare for entry into the post-secondary world, whatever their journey looks like and whatever their destination is. So a very, very strong message that right now this is top of mind for all of us. Right now this is discharged to a community extension division. That division in some way, shape or form will absolutely be part of the Polytechnic University. So in conclusion, we recognize the educational outcomes of residents from the JK-12 system. We know and we are proud to have played a big part in that previously, and we intend to be very much in that part of the business. And we intend to do it in much more innovative ways and improving access. And then, of course, most of the outcomes or the objectives of the Polytechnic University and the transformation about improving the actual quality of our programming. So through improved access, better quality, and a clear commitment and understanding that we will leave no student behind, they'll have to have an entry into the post-secondary. We feel there will be, we'll be much better at it going forward. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Emily Semler.
Yes, thank you. And with the presentation, we talk about post-secondary, and and there's it's checked off on the presentation, and I feel like sometimes I wanted to raise this here as the transformation, and not to forget that we, of all my years and experience as board members with the local level, at the regional level in this region, and we hear it all the time, is this grade 10 bottleneck. And these are the students that they drop out for all sorts of reasons, try to go back every year. I've talked to many of these students, and then we see in Yellowknife they have I can't remember what it's called, but it's an outreach for older students. That is something that I think, if there are students in high school that it's not meeting their needs, they can be successful in the Polytechnic if we start to create these types of programs in our regional centers, because there are, especially in our regional centers where there is a lot more students, where the older students do not want to go to school with the younger students for multiple reasons. They could be parents, they could have other social, housing issues. There's so many issues, but it all leads into this transformation into the Polytechnic. And I know that they have this out of Yellowknife. I've looked into the program. This is something that I think needs to be explored here as part of this whole transformation, so that we can have these students be successful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Semler. Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So we look forward to sharing the work we're already involved in around student pathways. But Chris, recognizing that this is not public information per se, but if you're able to articulate for the chair, please, where we are in our planning around student pathways.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We say pathways, but really, it's a metaphor for making sure that somebody knows where they're starting, where they are. We understand where they are at the start of that journey. And that may be that they're starting with only a grade 9 or grade 10 education. There is work being done, important work being done to increase the success in our JK to 12 system. But the post-secondary investment is not going to wait for those outcomes necessarily to come to fruition. We need to get people now who are ready and eager to learn and go on a path to different career and education outcomes. And so when we talk about pathways, we talk about understanding as an institution, the Polytechnic University, where students are now, and when a student comes to the institution, being able to chart a path to get them all the way to that career goal or education goal. Not just part of the way, not just to a little piece, but saying you're here and you have a grade 10 education or grade 11 education and you want to get to this career employment opportunity. We're going to map that full path. We're going to help you understand what the institution can do for you. How that manifests in regional learning, you need more regional learning at multiple levels in the communities. Some of that will need to go in regional centers and some will be in the smallest communities, but we know, we've heard loud and clear, and we know from best practice all across Canada that you will get students and keep students if they can initially get in and get their foothold closer to home. So through transformation, what we should see and what we will see is more than just adult basic education in communities, more than just opportunities to delve into periphery programs, but actually being able to make substantive gains in doing certificate and diploma level program, and perhaps even some degree level programming, introductory level in regional centers, to give residents a foothold and get them on the path to be successful. And that's what transformation is about, that empowerment and increase of opportunities and awareness of the path and how students can progress along those. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph. Emily O'Reilly.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I don't really have any questions so much about what I saw in the presentation. I think the path is pretty clear. But when are we actually going to see a budget for all of this work? I note that we got $8 million from the feds, which is great, but the Yukon got $26 million for one building on their campus. And I think that's because the Yukon government just places a higher priority on post-secondary education. We go to Ottawa and ask for roads. So, and that's, sorry, not for you folks as the technical people I'll take that up with the minister, but when will we actually see a budget for the transformation right through to new campuses and so on? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, MLA O'Reilly. Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So the MLA is absolutely correct. I think it's $25 million for a building or a facility at the Yukon University. So we're just in the process of the rolling out and engaging around the facilities plan for the Polytechnic University. This will be informed by significant engagement both at the community, regional, and obviously the territorial level. That facilities planning exercise is due to conclude and with a final document in July of 2022. And I don't think I'm disclosing any more than I should, in the sense that that will essentially then form the basis of the Polytechnic universities and the GNWT's engagement with potential co-investment partners, and notably, obviously, the federal government. So we are very pleased with the early commitment the federal government have made to the initiative, but we're fully aware we need a strong federal partner and other potential co-investment opportunities in order to expand our facilities in particular.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. MLA O'Reilly.
Thanks. Sorry, Madam Chair. Yeah, that's great. I don't think we can wait till July 22, though. There's a new federal government, different cabinet ministers. We need a plan to take to them now. This is an opportunity with a minority government, work with the opposition parties, get some pressure on these guys. But we have to have a plan and something to give them now. But I know there's also a task force on northern post-secondary education that the feds have set up. What is our relationship with that group, and what are we doing in relation to them and a Polytechnic University for us? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MLA O'Reilly. Mr. Bevan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to have to switch my hat to a president's hat just for a second, if you don't mind. So I can advise that the Aurora College has provided a written submission to the task force, along with presented to and engaged with the task force as recently as last week. We've also are working on, I don't think I'm disclosing anything that I shouldn't. We're working on a trilateral submission that would be College Nordique, Francophone, Tashinta, and ourselves, Aurora College University. And we've also just recently submitted a pan-territorial submission, which is a Yukon University, Nunavut Arctic College, and Aurora College submission to the task force. So I think it's fair to say the task force is, at this point in time, certainly there's no lack of clarity around the institutional perspective. As for a government perspective, that engagement, I believe, is taking place a little later this week. But I have seen correspondence back and forth at the political level to articulate to Minister Van Dal and the team that's working on his behalf certainly some of the government's perspectives in regards to the role of the federal government in post-secondary education.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. I'll now go to MLA Martellus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was looking at the document, and my question deals with the new governance system. It was very brief in the presentation, but the governance system with the arm's length is probably one of the most important aspects of developing a new Polytechnic University. So the fall of 2022, you're going to have a Board of Governors. And could you just tell me briefly on each one the powers and the criteria that the Board of Governors is going to have? Are they the ones, you'll put in place a Board of Governors. We don't have how many from which areas they're going to be. We also do not have clarity on the powers of the Board of Governors, because the Board of Governors will then, I assume, choose the new president of the Polytechnic University. I want clarity on that. And then we have the Academic Council, which is the core of the people of the academics within the colleges right now, but going to the Polytechnic. And then you have the Indigenous knowledge holders, and I want to know how this all works together so that you have the Board of Governors on top that actually have the power, and then hopefully they'll choose the president. And the other two sections were the briefing was great, but very brief. So I just want clarity on some of these, on those three, on slide number 15. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Emily Martellus. And just to be fair to the department as well, we did have a briefing specific to a bill that was recently brought forward, but I'm going to pass it to Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to do justice to the question. So certainly, a lot of this obviously is part of the discussions around Bill 30, and obviously we'll debate it on the floor of the House, no doubt, in the upcoming session. So I'll try to do the very best I can. So what I can tell you is that, should the bill go through close to or similar the way it is, there will be a Board of Governors. That Board of Governors will obviously be the primary governance structure. There's two other, as the MLA referred to, there's two other governance systems as well. One is an academic council. Again, the MLA is absolutely correct. That will be made up of people mostly internally or exclusively internally to the organization, and they will have paramountcy around academic decisions and input. And then the Indigenous Knowledge Holders Council, while advisory, technically while advisory in nature, the legislation actually does require that body to develop a framework, and when that framework is presented to and presumably approved by the board, it will have obviously the weight of the board behind it. And then what the public, in all fairness, does not know, and I'm not able to articulate with any precision what this looks like, but there will be capacity within the institution to make sure that the successful implementation of that framework is ultimately successful. So, and then I think the MLA had one other question or comment, and that was around, the powers of the board and its ability or its authority to hire the president. That is, in fact, exactly the case. Only the board will have the authority to hire the president of the college and ultimately the Polytechnic University. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bevan. Emily Martellos?
I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you very Emily Martellos, do you have a follow-up question?
Most of my questions are of political nature. I will be asking those to the minister. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Emily Martellos. MLA Whalen Armstrong.
Can you give me 5 minutes?
Emily Whalen Armstrong, unfortunately, you are the last person on the list, and there is another committee that has a meeting right after us. Would you prefer to submit your questions via the minister?
Okay, just wait. Yes, I'll do it now.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, I wanted to say, that the report, it's good that they did the presentation, and I think it was the other, Chris Joseph, I think, or one of them said, leaving no students behind. And, but at this time, due to lack of resources, students, and Ms. Semler has said it, students in the small communities or in the outlying community, in the regions, they're lacking a lot of resources. So they are the ones that are left behind by the whole system. And it's because we're missing the language and the basic. We keep saying that. How come nobody is listening? I know they really want I understand what they're trying to do, but we're always going to be behind if we don't have the resources to help our young people, and especially with the language. And then, so they don't miss the basic. We don't have anything like that. So when the teacher is focusing on language, the students are missing the basic, the whole class, and that's left behind. And we keep saying that. I keep saying it too. And I'm not going to stop because I like what they're doing, but some of the things that I don't agree with. And even it would be nice if Aurora College or Polytechnic University focus on lived experience. We have lots of those that are in their 30s or early 40s, and that fell through the crack from the school system because of this resources and then missing the basic. And here in Bichiko, we have to bus the students to Edzo, 10 kilometers away, and then some of the students, they miss their bus, they have no rides. So there's all kinds of problems. There's all kinds of situations involving why kids are behind, and nobody's listening. And so hopefully they listen now, but then, because I can tell you, for one example, okay, I have a vehicle that's GM, and when I took it to the dealership in Yellowknife, it cost over $7,000. And somebody with a grade 9 education here in my community, you know what the person said? Go buy the parts, I'll fix it for you. And then you take it to Hats, he's going to realign. He's just going to realign, that's it. He saved me $7,000. So these are the kinds of people that we have. You didn't say anything like that in here, but it would be nice if we can focus on the lived experience. For whatever reason, they miss school. Maybe it's because of the residential school experience of parents. There's lots of issues why some of these young people fell through the crack. But I would like it if lived experience, because we have a lot of those. We have young people that with no high school education working in the water plant. We need more of those, and it would be nice if the school in the Northwest Territories, but Yellowknife, they have all that, but not in the small communities where the students in the high school, they should go somewhere after high school or in the like after school program where they can go to water treatment plant, where they can go to the power plant, where they can go to places to learn more about the trades, mechanical, but we don't have any of those in our communities, or the system, the policy in place doesn't meet the needs. So lots of those, it would be nice if the policy can be loosened up a bit, but I think that's for the Department of Education as well, but I'm sure they work closely with the education system. So I just wanted to say that focus on lived experience as well, because these young people fell through the crack because of the system. So no students left behind. I don't believe that unless we start getting more money, we start getting more resources to help meet our needs, the young people in the regions. Improve the language, and then they get all the basic, and then they will be up to the level that the Yellowknife students get. Then it's going to be equal. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waylon Armstrong. Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So obviously, a whole lot to unpack there. So very impassioned speech on the part of members. So very quickly, there's a couple of characteristics there for sure. So I'm hearing a very strong message that there does need to be more programming at the community and regional level, and absolutely that's a commitment that I can make as both wearing both of my hats, and it's certainly part of the planning and the process going forward. Obviously, while we would like more resources, we will work very hard to get those. We also think we can do better with the resources we have, and again, that's a commitment that we're absolutely intent on following through with. We pick our language very carefully, as you can imagine, and an effective and an efficient and a sustainable Polytechnic university. That language is carefully crafted. We want to be the very best we can with the resources we have, and I assure you that we'll be tireless in trying to seek other resources from other co-investment partners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bevan. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to say thank you very much to yourself and Dr. Joseph for your time today. I know it was a very brief briefing, But we really appreciate the time that you have taken to give to committee today and the questions you've answered for committee. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you to everybody who joined us on our public platforms as well. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, folks. Bye.
Thank you. Committee members, I'd like to ask you to stay on the line as we disconnect from the public portion. Thank you.